It's just Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty is the most popular show Adult Swim has ever created. By a lot. So popular, in fact, that I'd say it's eclipsed the relevancy of the block that spawned it. That's unique among projects and properties with that kind of cultural impact. People know that HBO made Game of Thrones, that they binge-watch Stranger Things on Netflix, or that Disney owns everything. Meanwhile, considering its relative popularity, I doubt more than a third of Rick and Morty fans can tell you anything else about the network, assuming they know that's where it comes from in the first place. I'm not just making this up, numbers don't usually lie. And just look at the vast gap between both of their subreddits. I know, Reddit, but you see my point. That's a lot to do with how people consume media these days, global markets, and other boring stuff. Maybe you watch the show on TV the second it airs. Maybe you watch it on Hulu or elsewhere. But the entertainment industry is based around the idea that one thing will make the other thing popular, so don't tell me this show couldn't have made more Dream Corp LLC fans. I don't usually care how successful something I like is, even if I made it. I'd be pretty depressed if I did. This one hits different, because Rick and Morty is the show everyone has an opinion on. It's often called a victim of its own success. It might be hated in equal measure to how much it's loved. Viewers have been boosted by predicting and dissecting it. And it's also interesting to me because Rick and Morty is not Adult Swim's best show. In fact, I don't even think it's top 5. Let's talk about it. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is funnier than Rick and Morty. This list is in no particular order. In fact, it's only a list because lists get the clicks. But I want to get this one out of the way first because it's the most likely to have the same audience. It was the Adult Swim show from when it started until only pretty recently. But I still think it needs to be said because I'm basing these picks off having at least one specific thing they do better than Rick and Morty, rather than just being better in order or even really needing the attention. That way you can't come back and tell me that none of these shows have that specific quality you come to Rick and Morty for. Does that make sense? No? Good. This is Adult Swim we're talking about here. We don't need that shit. It's hard to say definitively that a show is funnier than another. Comedy is the most subjective, yada yada, but I really don't care because Aqua Teen Hunger Force made it possible for there to be a Rick and Morty. More than any other show, it made that type of absurdity cool. And I'm pretty confident in saying that Aqua Teen Hunger Force is funnier than Rick and Morty because that's what it's focused on. R&M is oft maligned for not being as good as it used to be, and it's really just because it became a lot of things to a lot of different people. Just being funny isn't its only priority. It also needs to be this over-the-top parody with expanded world building and multiple plot threads. When all I want is just to scratch that Adult Swim itch with a show I can let run non-stop, it's always Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It has its share of weak episodes, but most of them never get old for me. I gotta be in the right mood to watch Rick and Morty, and I always end up skipping around. I think that's because it's uninhibited by its premise in a way Rick and Morty can only try to be. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is the unkillable show. Even being cancelled couldn't put it down forever, and it never really felt like it went away. There's a ton more I'd like to say about what exactly makes this show so good that I'd need a full retrospective to really explain.
Wink, wink.
But it speaks for itself. So if for some reason you're a Rick and Morty fan who never watched the Talking Food Show, and I know you exist, just do it already. A lot of modern comedy is just trying to be Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It doesn't even need the approval, but it should have it anyway. Xavier Renegade Angel is a better absurdist show than Rick and Morty. A big part of the reason Rick and Morty blew up so fast is because of how out there its visuals can be and its unpredictability. I actually think the real secret of its success is in how it grounds its crazier ideas in human drama. People didn't care about Rick and Morty until it started giving weight to the adventures. If it had been as unconventional as most Adult Swim shows, we probably wouldn't still be talking about it like this. That could be more bug than feature if absurd jokes are what you come to the show for. You know what does absurdity way better by fully committing to it?
I'm a Thought-O-Coster. I'm the conundrumer in a band called Life Puzzler.
Xavier Renegade Angel is a lot of things. It's a theosophical journey of self-dichotomy, a pseudo-mythological exploration into the limits of infinity. It's a psycho-spiritual breakthrough breaking boundaries that break new ground and shatter expectations. Basically, it breaks into your house and breaks all of your stuff. In a good way. The way of the warrior, the truth warrior, who fights the never-ending war against things left unbroken. I'm sorry, I'm a rambler. That's a lot of fun to write, and they bring that type of chaotic enthusiasm to every line of dialogue. Xavier eviscerates the English language with the glee of a cop in a tent city. Okay, I'll do a real one. Xavier Renegade Angel is a show comprised entirely of cursed images. You really can't beat it if you're into the bizarre. Giant incest space baby?
That's for pussies.
How about getting revenge on the man who killed your parents by, yeah. The show's insane, but there's a reason it's so often referenced. It'll say something smart in a stupid way. Or is it vice versa? It makes certain lines useful for conveying a variety of different ideas and jokes. What doth life is a catchphrase I find myself using randomly when any minor misfortune befalls me. I'd say it rolls off the tongue a little better than wubble-of-a-dub-dub. The two shows have been getting directly compared a lot in the last few years. I'm not really trying to rehash that argument, but if you've seen one and not the other, probably time to fix that. Moral Oral is more emotionally moving than Rick and Morty. When Rick and Morty first started out, it took a while before it became the show people understand it to be today. Not popular, that came even later. I mean becoming the show that could pull the rug out from under the audience and change your perception of the world and characters in a single episode. People expect that now, but nobody expected anything out of this show when it started. I was there. In the first 5 episodes, you could just assume it was another in a long line of unsung, violent, irreverent Adult Swim comedies. And then Rick Potion number 9 comes along and changes everything, which could have been a one-off. The joke is about how everything at the end of a sitcom episode goes back to normal. Then they come back and do it again. From there, it's off to the races. The show gets crazy popular, people try predicting every plot point. It becomes so beloved that everyone hates it. The rest is history. Moral Oral did the exact same thing first, it did it better, and it got way less of the credit. It's also a show where an 11-year-old boy does crack.
Yakety yak! Where's the sawbuck?
Emo starts out as a straightforward parody of all those religious cartoons Grandma made you watch. I'm sure that wasn't just me. An average Moral Oral episode will have our boy here trying to live by the moral lessons taught to him by the good people of Moralton, USA. And get just a little bit closer to God in the process. Naturally, he takes the lessons too far and too literally, comedy ensues. But unlike those religious cartoons, it's not Oral who needs fixing. He's a perfect good boy who would never hurt a fly. It's the lessons that are messed up. It's all about how people, specifically in this case American Protestants, twist moral values to mean whatever's convenient for them at the time.
Sleep easy, Figurelli. Your establishment remains untouched by my moral sanctions. For the time being.
Golly, why would anyone pick at the corner store, Mr. Figurelli?
That broad always finds a reason.
Oral just wants to do good. But since he lives in a town where nearly every adult example is guided by an ideology of hypocrisy, repression, xenophobia, and a blind adherence to authority, it turns into a disaster. And that'd be more than enough nuance for most comedies, but Moral Oral isn't content to just be a show where a kid accidentally tricks people into drinking piss. It doesn't take very long for the show to morph into something that can be downright emotionally devastating. But if being depressing was its only trick, I wouldn't have put it on this list. See, Moral Oral doesn't really have any one-note joke characters. Even background characters you never expect to say anything have something going on. A librarian who's always burning books is a funny premise, but just like in real life, there's a reason she's like that. And once you know it, it's hard to dismiss her as a parody of an uptight shrew. The drunk and abusive dad that's basically standard issue for the genre is a lot less ha-ha funny than he appears to be. And sure, diving deep into character is something a lot of comedies do these days, but Moral Oral puts the work in. Lines that seem like one-off jokes or complete non-sequiturs turn out to have a ton of significance. It's not even really episodic. You wouldn't get a lot of the jokes if you watched it in random order. It just keeps building on itself until this stupid little town full of Play-Doh people feels like a place you understand. Also, I gotta say that, subtle or not, Moral Oral definitely has something to say in a way Rick and Morty is just a little too cool for. Not to throw shade, but it goes a little deeper than you have to make your own meaning in a meaningless universe. Like, come on. I read Camus' version of Sisyphus in fucking middle school, Dan.
Get it together.
And seriously though, there's so much more I'd like to say, and someday I will, but I gotta move on. I don't want to spoil anything for even one person who might watch this video. Super rewarding, go watch it, you coward. It's not unpopular, but it deserves better than to be an eternal second-string show because it's not as marketable as some others. Primal is a better-looking show than Rick and Morty. Well, I mean, yeah, just look at it. Primal is everything I love about animation. What is it about? It's about savagery, survival, primal rage, and fishing. It's the kind of show that makes me feel a little bit better about the industry overall because, oh yeah, they still make stuff like this. It's brutal and fun without ever slipping into the juvenile. It's undeniably gorgeous, made by an industry veteran everybody loves. It's got dinosaurs. What more could you possibly ask for? So why do I feel like this show is flying so far under the radar? Why aren't Spear and Fang on the short list for multiverses reps? Thank God this show got a second season, because I can totally imagine a producer saying, yeah, that was fun. Thanks, Gendy. Now fuck off back to Hotel Transylvania. Wouldn't be the first time either. I can see it going either way. Maybe it blows up in its second season, but considering how well produced it is, it could also just get added to the why did you cancel my favorite show list that's slowly being created by Adult Swim. This is not a 2 dimes and a nickel show that can keep itself going on the goodwill of 1 or 2 executives. So when it comes back, I hope more people turn up for it. If there's one show on this list that could really use the attention, it's this one. The Venture Brothers is just Rick and Morty, but better. Yeah, you heard me. What more can you say about the Venture Brothers? Steak Bentley just made an amazing video on why exactly it's so damn good that's bigger than this one will ever be, so if I can't convince you, he probably can. Hardcore fans have been evangelizing for it the entire time it's existed. It has every quality I mentioned so far and more. It's a smartly written, ever-expanding world of characters that never stay static for a second. It did the background world building and mystery mongering MatPat loves so much and cranks it up to 11. It is my personal favorite show. It's been called the greatest show of all time, and yeah. It's a stranded on a deserted island show for when your dad forgets you've been kidnapped. Funny, humanistic, dramatic, irreverent, sad, triumphant, genius, stupid, real. And then it got canceled. Why? Well, because it was always hardcore fans singing its praises. I get why Moral Laurel will never be a super popular show. Primal's pretty new, and Xavier is Xavier. But there's no reason Venture Brothers couldn't have blown up at some point other than maybe airing inconsistently. Hey, you can't rush perfection. And I could break down why I think it never got the attention it really deserved, but it wouldn't change the fact that it's already probably too late. I know it's getting a movie. It will be amazing. It'll probably get a good amount of attention too. Stranger things have happened. Adult Swim does love a revival, but it wouldn't change the fact that it should have already made that impact, and that Jackson Public and Doc Hammer are the original Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, but cooler. This isn't about who deserves whose success or money or anything so crass. It's about how people often don't branch out from the popular to find something they might love even more. And as much as weirdos like me hate to admit it, we can't keep our weird little passion project shows going by ourselves forever. But maybe that's a blessing in disguise. We've all seen what happens when something goes on past its expiration date. I actually think Venture Brothers ended in a pretty good place, give or take an hour and a half, or however long that movie's gonna be. And popularity is its own kind of curse. Adult Swim gets away with a lot by flying under the radar. But for how long, I wonder. So, why does it matter? What's the point of comparing these shows? Why do I even care about the interests of theoretical Rick and Morty fans? Well, the truth is, this video isn't actually about Rick and Morty. It's about a fear that I have.
Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah, I know, but I do think there's a greater point here. Positive or negative, Rick and Morty gets a lot of attention. From the general public, from the company that produces it, and hardcore fans. On HBO Max, works. There's an Adult Swim hub with all their most recent, most popular shows. On that hub, there are tags that will take you directly to some of those shows. Except I'm lying, there's only one tab. The Rick and Morty tab. Yeah, not even Aqua Teen. Even the DC hub has Superman and Wonder Woman tags. Again, get it together. And that's my problem. Is this show really so special in their catalog? Maybe you think so, I don't care. There's gonna be people who argue that both ways. But it doesn't matter what I think, or you. What I'm worried about are the people who only look at this stuff through numbers on spreadsheets in investment portfolios. If it continues to be the only show that's seen as a significant numbers generator, what's stopping some brain in a jar from deciding that they'll keep the Drunk Science Man show, and maybe the one with the meatball around, because it makes the machine go burr, and his kids like them, but he'll cut all the experimental stuff that art students watch at 3 a.m. because he'll be goddamned before he lets that asshole Jim over at Amazon buy the new McLaren before he does. Who's gonna save it then, huh? Twitter? The Illuminati? Where's Tim Heidecker gonna go? Twitch? Adult Swim is the only game in town for weird, interesting art on television. Not on the internet, but they actually have a budget. Nobody at William Street is making Disney money, but, doesn't that just make you like them more? And if that happens, what? You think somebody's gonna start another Adult Swim with blackjack and hookers? It's not gonna happen. And they don't have to discontinue it either. Brands are valuable, they'll probably keep it around. Just as bad would be if they start producing only Rick and Morty and Rick and Morty clones. I can already see that shift happening. I'm not going to mention the shows I'm talking about because I think they all deserve to be evaluated on their own terms, but it's something to think about. And this is not a doomer video either. I just want to point this out so nobody's surprised if it happens. Smiling Friends is not on this list. But that's because it's short and I want to see what more they can do with it. I mean, it's shorter than Primal, but it definitely represents a step in the right direction. There are parallels, but what's more important is that it's on a totally different wavelength. As opposed to, for example, Inside Job. I wonder what that show is going for. Could it be Futurama? Smiling Friends is good, but it also made an impact. It's not 5 dudes on the internet begging people to watch it before it gets canceled. I want to see that become a trend. Adult Swim is not just the individual shows they make, it's a vibe, an aesthetic, an artistic muse. Without it, this would probably be like another comic book channel or some shit. And who wants that? This is completely theoretical. Honestly, I'm not even that worried about it. All I'm saying is that if it ever went away, a whole lot of people who hadn't noticed a lot of this stuff before would wonder how they ever missed it. And you know what they say. Video deleted by YouTube. I'm pretty sure a lot of Rick and Morty fans are gonna hate this because it sounds like an attack on their favorite show, but actually I made sure not to state my overall opinion on it anywhere in this video. But since you made it to the end, I think it's only fair that I clear things up. So here it is. I actually think the show's pretty